the governor's State of the State address to helping furlough workers here in the Low Country, I sat down exclusively with both state representatives J.A. Moore and Krystle Simmons for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Representatives J.A. Moore and Krystle Simmons, it's so good to see you all.
Good to see you as well.
Good to see you again, Quintin.
Appreciate it greatly. I know that you wanted me to come here to North Charleston City Hall because you sent out a press release just recently. You said this: Representative J.A. Moore to partner with Low Country restaurants to help federal workers during shutdown. When you think of federal workers during the federal shutdown, where are you guys emotionally?
Well, I'll go first, Quintin. Thank you so much for coming. It hits me very close to home. Like I mentioned earlier, it's only been a couple years for me where I live paycheck to paycheck. And so I can't imagine working, going to work over 30 days now and not receiving a paycheck. On average, that's about $5,000 that these federal workers have not received. Right. How many people can budget for that?
Yeah, that's pretty hard. Again, thank you for having me as well. But yeah, I agree with J.A. I mean, I think one check is kind of like, ooh, things are getting tight. But two means you're going to be without rent. Because by the time your second check comes, a lot of times it's time for rent. And so if you have not budgeted any kind of savings, which most of them didn't see this coming, so they didn't, I mean, you're in dire straits. Not only do you need rent, but you need regular necessities at this point, because now you've been with a month without any resources.
And in your particular respective districts, how many people are actually furloughed from the federal government in your mind?
Well, I think that's a hard number to put together, but what I do know is that here in the 10 coastal counties in South Carolina, so it's over 10,000 folks. In South Carolina as a whole, there's over close to 21,000 federal workers. And just at the Coast Guard alone here in Charleston County, who live in our districts, is 700 of them. I mean that's devastating. Not to mention the 4 federal prisons here in South Carolina, the Department of Agriculture, the TSA, right here at the Charleston International Airport. So, man, you're talking about not just the law of 10. So if you say one person, you really got to count 10 people in that that they affect. So you're talking about over 100,000 people that are directly affected by the shutdown. These are like family members, close folks, and we're not even thinking about restaurants and barbershops.
Right.
And I know Krystle was literally working on something right before we set up for this interview, and I just applaud her for just taking action right away. Krystle, you can kind of tell them about that.
So what we've both been doing is reaching out to local businesses. J.A. being the first chef, more reaching out toward restaurants, and I know I just got off the phone with some barbershops locally here, trying to see if they would offer free haircuts to people who are furloughed, because like I said, now that we're into that month range, we're at a point where people are needing the regular necessities, and so without access to money, how can they get them? Things as simple as a haircut. I mean, Pampers. I mean, do we think none of our furlough workers have babies? They have all the same needs that we have, and no money. Lido's grocery store in Goose Creek is offering $10 off of purchases, $40 or something like that on January 26th and 27th. Again, people are starting to understand that this is more of a real-time issue, not more of a news. A lot of times when you see things, you think it's not in your own neighborhood, but it is, in fact, right here at home.
Tell me why Representative J.A. Moore, why Low Country Local First?
Well, I've partnered with Low Country Local First before. They are a great collaborator, especially when you're talking about local businesses. I know Jamie Haley, who's the executive director. She's just a phenomenal person.
She is,
and it's just important to me that we as a industry, a food and beverage industry, come together. I think Low Country Local First has it figured out. They have the the structure in place to make this happen. Literally, I had a conversation with them on Wednesday, and here it is Friday, and we have over 75 local restaurants and businesses get involved. I knew they had the capacity to do it. I knew they had the passion to do it as a part of their mission. And so that's the reason why I just knew them, and I knew their track record, and I knew they had the capacity of actually pulling it off.
And you say 70 restaurants. From Wednesday until now, how many more are on this list?
I mean, I tell you what, when we started out, it was Michael Shimtov with Mellow Munchery and the Bush and Bee, so that's like 5 or 6 restaurants. Right. And so you're talking about, and then we brought on Homegrown Hospitality, that's Jerry Shears, and that's 22 restaurants right there, all in one swoop. Right. And then it just kept going up. The 5 Loaves, that group, they got involved. That's like 4 or 5 restaurants in the area. And so it's just these restaurant groups and collaborative. Dale's, that group is like 4 or 5 of them. They got involved. My 3 Sons, they got involved, and Chill and Grill. And it's just been just a overwhelming. And people want to do something. People want to give back. People want to be supportive. Sometimes you just need the mechanism in which to give back in. So that's I wouldn't be surprised by this weekend it'd be over 100.
I agree.
And you talk about obviously people want to give back. How do they give back with this initiative?
Well, I mean, I recommend that they go on to Low Country Local First's website. And there's a link there. So if you go to lowcountrylocalfirst.org/shutdown, there's a link for some of the restaurants that are getting involved. I know you can look me up on Facebook and Twitter. That's at J.A. Moore 4. That's FORSC 15 in Krystle.
Definitely, you can go to my page and vote Krystle Simmons on Facebook. I definitely have shared the last couple of days. I've shared links to places that are accepting donations and places that are also giving those donations. Right here where we are right now, downtown at the Charleston Police Department, City Hall, North Charleston Police Department, they are accepting donations here as well. A lot of your churches are accepting donations. Definitely, if you don't know what else to do, donate to the food banks. The food banks need extra donations because, again, this was an unforeseen circumstance. So even with their supply already being limited, like you said about the need for food and to give away to people in need, even the more now, right? All the more now do we need people to donate, especially perishable items, non-perishable items. It's important that they have these staples. Food is, I get angry when I'm eating, so I'm known in the house for snacking, so I can imagine, not knowing where my next meal is going to come from unexpectedly like that.
You talk about the house from Charleston to Columbia. What will you all do next?
Well, there was a resolution that was passed that was sponsored by Representative Stavronakis.
Yes.
And I think that's the first step. I think what we can do as local legislators is encourage folks at the federal level, folks like Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott and Joe Cunningham and Representative Clyburn to get together and end the shutdown. Don't play tit for tat and chess with people's lives, man. We have to do something. Another thing that we're doing is a bill that was sponsored, and I'm a co-sponsor of it along with Gilda Cobb Hunter, is this fruit and vegetable SNAP program initiative. And pretty much what this does is the funds are already there. There's over $1 million. I think it's like $1.3 million worth of funding that's already there for fresh fruits and vegetables for SNAP. And right now, the way the program is being administered is that it only can be done through farmers markets. Right. And a lot of times, I used SNAP when I was in college, man. I wasn't going to no farmers market for groceries and stuff. And so what this bill will do is allow these funds that are already allocated to be used in grocery stores and make it easier for farmers markets to participate. And so that's bill number 3250. And I'm just excited. Representative Thunderberg came to me late last week about it. And I'm looking forward to helping push that bill forward because there's food insecurity here in South Carolina. We have to do something about it. 1 in 5 children go to bed hungry every single night.
Yes.
And now just to think about how many more kids now because of the shutdown. We got to do something. We got to act now.
I agree.
And where are we with the state of food insecurity in your particular districts?
Well, I think that we're doing a good job mitigating that through the Low Country Food Bank and the Helping Hands. Helping Hands is not a name that I hear often, but they are right there in Goose Creek. And they are also functioning at a high rate. I actually talked to them this morning, and they are also offering many options to people. So again, donating to these food banks is keeping us at bay, but we have got to get to the root of the problem. We cannot continue to Band-Aid the problems that we have here in the Low Country, such as food insecurity, such as homelessness. A lot of what we're seeing are temporary fixes, but when we start expanding these programs and offering them to everybody, what that does is that gets to the root of the problem. And I think until we learn that by helping my brother, I'm helping myself.
That's right.
You know, we're not going to be at a place, we're going to be continually Band-Aiding. So I think as far as where we are right now in our district, I think that we're doing okay, but it stems from so many places because the homeless roam. They don't stay in one place, they roam.
And let me turn over to the state of the state. Both of you were in attendance when Governor McMaster delivered her state of the state to the state that is in Columbia on Wednesday. What rang a bell when it came to your districts?
For me, I was very optimistic cautiously optimistic about the focus on education. What I will say about Governor McMaster is that he seemed to be committed to actually working on things with the legislators, and I think his predecessors weren't as focused of actually governing. So I'm excited about that. And I was happy that he mentioned funding for mental health in schools. That's vitally important to me. Personal stories of mine and people in my district. I have two bills dealing with mental health in schools: House Bill 3257 and 3258. So I was very excited about that. I think the 5% increase in teacher salary is not enough. That's too little, too late. What I was encouraged by is the speaker 84-page bill that he filed yesterday is more like 9.5%, almost 10% for new teachers. I think that's a little bit more in line.
Minimum $35,000.
Right. That's a little more in line with what I think we need to do. So I'm encouraged that the other side of the aisle has finally listened to the Democrats who've been talking about public education and fighting for teachers' pay for over a generation. So I'm encouraged. I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues on the other side and working with the governor on making sure that we radically change our school system here in South Carolina. There was a lot of stuff that he didn't talk enough about. He didn't talk enough about infrastructure. He didn't talk enough about affordable housing. And so, obviously you can always nitpick and find things that interest your constituency that he didn't talk about. But I think overall the messaging, especially dealing with public education, he's thinking the right way. Now we just have to make sure we push him even further. I think as a party and as me and Krystle, we're going to definitely do our part in doing that.
Where are you with affordable housing?
And I'll let you take that.
Well, the great thing about both our districts, and I think it's partially why we both are here, is that the growth that is happening in the Low Country, especially in Berkeley and Charleston County. So we have so many jobs that are bringing folks from Ohio and from all over the country. And we do have a deficit of affordable housing. If you know the statistics, the average rent and the national average is about $1,400. You know what it is for the greater Charleston area? $1,600. So we're higher than the national average just in rent. And North Charleston, where we are now, is ranked #1 in the nation for eviction. Goose Creek and Hanahan, which are part of my district, are in the top 10. That's a problem. And so there's a need for more affordable options for folks to live that are moving here and folks that already lived here. There's a bill that Representative Pendarvis He has a lot of different different bills that he's working on with affordable housing. One that was very interesting to me deals with allowing. There's already federal money out there to build affordable housing. There's one bill in particular. I can't call the number right now, but it deals with taking off some of the strain off of doing more affordable housing. It's about how many you can do using this federal money. Here in South Carolina, right now, is a limit on there, and what this bill will do is allow more. More development to happen with affordable housing. And one particular company that kind of sponsored this bill, what I liked about what they do is that 50% of their contractors are minority businesses. So I was very excited to hear that as well. So, we got to deal with affordable housing. I mean, we have to deal with it. So, yeah.
I think the thing that people need to understand is that we need balance. We've been out of balance for so long. Affordable housing goes hand in hand with pay. Mm-hmm. And so if people are, the rent in Charleston in the Low Country period is steadily going up. It's on the rise. But their pay is not rising. So it's very hard to have what you call affordable housing. You can lower it as much as you want to. But if you don't pay people nothing, they ain't going to never be able to afford it. It's never going to happen. And I would like to say the state of the state for me, it was just okay. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't like big, broad umbrella plans. And I feel like it's almost like writing a book. You can't write a book without an outline. And so what we need is more than just one step. When you have one step, you make it, and then where are you, Quintin? What's the next step? So that one step, that's fine to start on, but if you don't even have an outline of where you're going, then you're pretty much just blowing in the wind, right? And so I did drop a bill. I didn't drop as many as them, but I did House Bill 3261. It deals with updating our policy on the discriminatory factors, your protected characteristics, race, gender, sexual orientation, and things like that in the schools. But one part that's also in there is protecting teachers, protecting their ability to speak out, right? Dealing with retaliation from the feedback that I got from the state of the state. They don't feel like they still were addressed at their problems. They feel like it was an umbrella kind of thing is what the feeling that I'm getting. And I do understand that, and I do agree with that perspective. So I think from now on, I would like to see us do more. Again, I will keep saying this over and over again. We have got to get to the root. As long as we have no zero policies, all the numbers are flawed. You don't need to tell me about which schools are failing, because they're probably failing worse than what you're saying, because we have teachers who are not allowed to give a 0. They have to give a 40 as a minimum grade. Well, that's not accurate. What you do is only as good as the information that you put in. And so if the information you're getting is flawed, then guess what else is going to be flawed? Your plan. So that's why, I guess for me, I would say the state of the state was okay, but I need a more comprehensive outline, I need more detail, and I need more root cause analysis.
And what will be the outline for your time in the legislative session this year?
I think I'm going to be focused on these 2 mental health bills that I mentioned to you. I think I'm going to work as much as I can on this fresh fruit, this fresh fruit and vegetable SNAP program. That's important to me. And just looking to see what resources, which is very important, that we can bring back to the district that doesn't require any kind of legislation. How can there's resources that are already available to the constituency, how can we make sure that they know about them and they get the help that they need? That's probably, for me, the number one priority. Yeah.
And Krystle?
For me, I'm definitely focused on pushing education and meaningful partnerships. Like Mr. Moore, I just met him at the end of our campaign, and it's been such a valuable friendship. I like you not. I love him like a brother. We're housemates. We sit together in the house, and I think we have to get back to a sense of community, and I think that's something me and him are both very passionate about. So definitely creating these relationships, branching together to bring our community back together as a community where everybody feels like not only do they have a voice, but that they're being heard. Because I think for so long people have felt like they didn't have anybody to contact or they didn't know who to go to get the things that they needed. But now we're so visible and we're so accessible that I think that's going to be a valuable asset to our community.
Representatives J.A. Moore and Representative Krystle Simmons. Krystle Simmons, thank you for being on Quintin's Full Sauce.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Quinn. Always, man. Always. Love it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.